My sister and I chose our guardian spirits simultaneously. She picked the ink spirit, so I went with the nine-tailed fox. Little did we know the ink spirit was aloof and refined, shunning worldly affairs, only teaching her calligraphy and painting. Meanwhile, the fox's enchantment made me a dazzling star. Even the crown prince of the capital, whom my sister pined for in vain, became my devoted admirer. After 2 years of festering envy, she finally snapped during a homecoming ritual and murdered me. When we opened our eyes again, we had returned together to that very first day. This time, my sister was quicker to seize the nine-tailed fox's hand and refused to let go. I nearly died laughing. Who'd give up a life of leisure and luxury? Did they really think being a fox spirit was that easy? On the day we came of age, Grandma secretly took my sister and me to the ancestral hall to reveal the twists of fate. Each generation of our family is guarded by 2 patron spirits, a writing spirit and a nine-tailed fox. Standing at the heart of the ancestral hall, my sister and I faced the most crucial decision of our lives. Iris, Scarlet, your choice of guardian spirit is irreversible. Choose wisely. Grandmother spoke with grave sincerity, every word measured and clear. Before the words even finished, my sister, her face twisted with frightening intensity, snatched the incense sticks from her hands, lit them, and thrust them before the shrine of the nine-tailed fox guardian. The nine-tailed fox is mine, Scarlet, don't you dare take it from me. 1. Grandma froze for a moment, then turned to look at me, unhurried. I knelt with palms pressed together in prayer before lighting my own incense, summoning my personal guardian spirit, the planchette. Iris, Scarlet, always remember your life belongs to no one but yourselves. As she saw us off, Grandma's clouded eyes gradually cleared, smiling. She patted our heads and spoke with earnest sincerity. My sister, thoroughly satisfied with her achievement, was completely absorbed by the gradually materializing nine-tailed fox, so bewitching she didn't hear a word. She strutted past me, triumphantly raising her hand tightly clasped with the fox's, her face radiating smug satisfaction. Ugly creature, your beautiful life belongs to me now. But Grandma was right. Life is in our own hands. How could anyone possibly steal it from us? I understand why Iris chose the nine-tailed fox. In our past life, she looked down on me yet was obsessed with competing against me. Ever since we were kids, whether it was toys, snacks, or anything else, if I showed the slightest interest, she'd immediately try to snatch it from me. When it came time to choose our guardian spirits, I merely hesitated for 2 extra seconds while glancing at the spirit pen. That's all it took for Iris to pounce on it like a starved tiger claiming its prey. But after actually binding with the spirit pen as her personal guardian, she's been drowning in endless regret every waking moment. The reason was simple: the spirit pen possessed an aloof elegance, detached from worldly affairs, maintaining an icy distance that made approach nearly impossible. Under the spirit's guidance, Iris faced countless restrictions: no more drinking, clubbing, skipping classes, or getting into fights. Each dawn began with early rising, basking in sunlight for self-cultivation, interspersed with creative writing and painting to refine her spirit. For a free spirit like her who thrived in chaos and rebellion, this was nothing short of a life sentence in prison. Iris was utterly miserable, her soul chafing against this torment. While she was dutifully copying famous calligraphy scrolls in ascetic discipline, I was stealing the show at costume parties under the nine-tailed fox's tutelage, effortlessly winning the title of most popular freshman. Just as she was smugly patting herself on the back for minor achievements, I underwent a complete transformation under the nine-tailed fox's guidance, skyrocketing to fame after signing with a talent agency. When we sisters finally appeared together, the nine-tailed fox's meticulous refinement had turned my ordinary looks into irresistible charm, every glance captivating, every smile spellbinding. The entire crowd's attention fixated solely on me, their cheers and screams rising for none other. Reduced to a mere foil, Iris could only cower in the corner, bombarded by taunts of how the elder sister paled in comparison to the younger, utterly ignored. Even the crown prince of the capital, whom she longed for in vain, splurged fortunes to buy out every firework and rose in the city, laying them at my feet just to see me smile. Consumed by jealousy, she threw a tantrum, demanding to swap guardian spirits. But from the moment of our initial binding, our souls were branded with the mark of our destined guardians, a seal that would only fade at life's end. In the end, Iris lost her mind. On our way back to visit Grandma's grave, she desperately grabbed the steering wheel and sent us both careening off the cliff. When I opened my eyes again, everything had reset to the very beginning. This time, my sister didn't hesitate for a second. She immediately claimed the nine-tailed fox for herself. She said, "Ugly creature, go be a monk or nun. The glamorous life belongs to me now." 2. The spirit was truly elusive, its ethereal form flickering in and out of sight, its voice like jade chimes ringing. "Life with me brings more hardship than joy. Can you accept that?" Knowing my sister's temperament in her past life, she must have worn that sour expression of instant regret, utterly unwilling. Who would have thought one's personal guardian spirit could bring such hardship, inhaling the distinct scent of ink and paper, so different from the nine-tailed fox's cloying, decadent fragrance? I stated calmly, since we're here, we might as well stay. I'll adapt. A scrutinizing gaze swept over my face. The spirit pen remained silent for a moment, seemingly surprised by my candor, then nodded and replied in an even tone, all right then. Since you're following me now, I'll be responsible for you from here on out. I'm rather old-fashioned. You might find me boring or tiresome. You'll develop an interest once you get used to it. The corners of my lips curled into a faint smile. At first, everything was eerily quiet. The spirit seemed to be deliberately studying my habits. I settled in comfortably, smoothly transitioning to university life. I paid attention in lectures and spent my free time buried in ancient texts at the library, in my past life as a celebrity. I was constantly swarmed wherever I went, living under the relentless glare of spotlights that nearly suffocated me. This time, I chose solitude, learning to embrace the quiet and walk my path alone. The spirit of the brush observed it all, offering sharp critiques as I clumsily practiced writing characters with the ink brush. Is this hideous scrawl the trail of insects crawling across the page? Your hand trembles like a leaf. Such wasted ink for feeble strokes. Truly, the legends don't do her justice. This brush spirit's razor tongue makes her utterly unapproachable. After her disdainful critiques, she'd always toss me a stack of rare calligraphy rubbings to practice from. How could writing not be tedious? Copying stroke by stroke, imitating every hook and sweep, only by mastering each character and phrase could I grasp even a fraction of its essence. Sometimes I'd exhaust myself practicing until my back ached. But the ink spirit's voice would always whisper in my ear at just the right moment, why bother? A blossoming young girl like you belongs in the dazzling world outside, with all its neon lights and revelry. I paused to catch my breath, fully aware it was reverse psychology, yet still found myself nodding along. Yeah, exhausting and dull. The spirit medium's brows furrowed at these words. But only by holding the pen can you control your destiny. I know how fascinating the world can be, yet equally understand its cruel indifference. All I want now is to better myself. Today's hardships are just laying the foundation for tomorrow's sweetness. I, Scarlet, refuse to remain a helpless little bunny. I'm determined to become a man-eating flower in this concrete jungle, like a spring breeze rippling across a pond, or the turning of a book's page. The spirit showed no reaction to my words that day, maintaining its usual detached demeanor, only criticizing more harshly and piling on even more calligraphy practice sheets. I know she's tough on the outside but soft inside, always secretly fixing my tangled brush hairs and picking up my crumpled paper balls. While life here is peaceful and refined, my sister Iris is out there stealing the spotlight in all her dazzling glory. Even someone as oblivious as me couldn't escape hearing about her exploits through the grapevine. First it was the freshman ball, where she showed up in full glamour and effortlessly claimed the title of campus queen. The 4 guys in the dorm were fighting over her, starting with verbal taunts that escalated into physical brawls, ultimately getting them expelled. My sister was absolutely stealing the show. I went for an evening jog at the track, since my wrists lacked strength for precise brushstrokes during calligraphy practice. I figured building physical stamina might help, from a distance. I spotted Iris approaching, surrounded by a crowd, her face flushed like peach blossoms, reeking of alcohol from a mile away, dressed provocatively with her curvaceous figure on full display. My dear sister, what a delightful mood you're in for a midnight stroll all alone. She was trailed by an entourage, deliberately positioning herself beside me for contrast. No company, how pitiful. What, goddess, this plain girl is your sister? No way, these sisters are night and day, one breathtakingly beautiful, the other completely forgettable in a crowd. No wonder she's always running alone, with a sister like that. Who'd even glance at her? Iris's admirers pointed at me and laughed mockingly, making sure I heard every word. 3, thoroughly pleased with the effect, she blew a kiss to the crowd, eliciting another wave of gasps and admiration. Iris gently stroked her youthful, beautiful face and laughed heartily. See that? Beauty is justice. With just a wave of my hand, people will throw themselves at me. Your guardian spirit is such a fossil, stick with her, and you'll remain an unwelcome ugly duckling forever. She stared at me expectantly, hoping to see me break down in tears. Contrary to her expectations, I replied earnestly, beauty comes at a price. The benefits you're enjoying now will eventually demand repayment. Taking shortcuts only means suffering the consequences sooner, after just a short absence. Iris had blossomed into an entirely different allure, her delicate charm now radiating a bewitching sensuality. I knew the 9-tailed fox's handiwork when I saw it. You're just jealous enough to curse me. Ha! Iris turned a deaf ear to my advice. You'll never get away with this. Just wait and see, you'll get what's coming to you. She had another party to attend. Eager to flaunt her beauty as she walked away with her entourage of admirers in tow. Truth be told, I meant every word. In my past life, The nine-tailed fox I just met was burning with passion, cradling my plain face with tears of pity. Sweetheart, you've suffered so much because of your looks. I've got secret techniques that'll make you beautiful for sure. What young girl doesn't crave beauty, especially someone like me, constantly mocked by my elder sister? I nodded eagerly without hesitation. Little did I know, fate's gifts always come with a hidden price tag. At first, I was simply delighted by my newly smooth and fair skin. But gradually, I grew dissatisfied with my slightly sparse eyelashes, then my not-quite-perfect nose bridge, followed by my insufficiently plump lip tubercle and the faint smile lines. By the time I finally saw that completely unfamiliar face in the mirror, I was already beyond stopping, beyond redemption. I kept having the same nightmare, molten lava pouring over my face, burning away all that falseness. The more beautiful, pale, and slender I became, the weaker my body grew and the more my mind wandered, yet more people adored me, praising my delicate grace reminiscent of ancient beauties. I'm like a jeweled ornament, people only see endless desire when they look at me, but Iris is different. She's bursting with energy, bouncing around, stirring up trouble, wild and foolish, yet she's vibrant and free, like wild daisies blooming recklessly in a mountain stream. Given a second chance, I don't want static beauty, I want my true self. When I asked the spirit pen for leave, she seemed surprised, thinking I was still upset about what happened last time. True beauty lies within, not in appearances, don't dwell on it. Pausing for a moment, I found her attempt at comfort rather amusing. I just want to learn martial arts, that's all. Clenching my fist and shaking it, I continued, truth lies at the edge of the blade, strength is forged between these knuckles. Next time we meet, I'll smash my fist right into their smug faces. Excellent, the spirit pen showed rare enthusiasm, its voice brimming with approval for the first time. From now on, rise with the dawn to bathe in sunlight and cultivate your chi. Additionally, practice 10 more pages of calligraphy daily to calm your mind and nurture your character. Scratching my head, I thus embarked on a hellish training regimen. Mornings began with 10 laps around the track to boost cardiovascular endurance. At noon, I'd strap sandbags to my wrists while practicing calligraphy strokes to strengthen my arms. Nights were spent getting knocked out in martial arts sparring, only to stagger up bruised and battered. By the time my calligraphy became presentable and even the pickiest spirit couldn't fault it, I'd already progressed to wiping the floor with my coach. While she took pride in my progress, there was always a lingering melancholy in her eyes. I pressed the spirit of the brush for answers, piecing together her fragmented tale. The brush spirit's first owner was an elegant noblewoman, devoted to calligraphy, who commissioned the finest craftsmen to create an exquisite writing brush. Then catastrophe struck, her country fell, her family perished. The delicate, gifted lady's talents proved useless as she suffered violation before taking her own life. The broken brush was buried in 2 pieces. Through the ages, the spirit gradually awakened, until ancestral ghosts restored it, transforming it into their family guardian. I often find myself wishing the young mistress could be more like you. Iris remained her usual self, skipping classes more often than attending, but she couldn't care less. Rumors were spreading across campus about her imminent signing with a film studio. As the year drew to a close during the New Year holidays, I deliberately let loose and attended the school's gala. The venue buzzed with excitement, but all eyes were drawn to one center of attention, Iris, resplendent in her lavish gown, its crimson train sweeping the floor like a peacock flaunting its plumage. I watched those wealthy playboys who used to orbit around me in my past life now fawning over her like lapdogs. She was thriving in the attention, but when her gaze caught mine in the corner, her eyes briefly darkened before she masked it with a cold smirk. That look spelled nothing but trouble, sure enough. Just as I was peacefully watching the show, the host suddenly called my name. Several students have repeatedly requested to take the stage and showcase their talents. With Iris being the campus belle who set such high standards, we can't wait to see what surprises her sister Scarlett has in store. Let's give her a warm welcome. The auditorium erupted like a boiling kettle, buzzing with excitement as everyone's curiosity piqued. Those who knew me fixed their gazes on me with unblinking intensity, like searchlights locking onto a target. Just replaying that little trick from the other night, I slowly rose from my seat, stepped onto the stage, squared my shoulders, and stood tall, still. Thank you, sis, for giving me this chance to shine. Even the finest wine needs someone to notice the cellar. The stage happened to have fresh banners and calligraphy supplies, probably reserved for some VIP's grand New Year's speech finale, but now they were mine. My crisp voice carried clearly through the microphone across the auditorium, silencing the murmurs below. I winked deliberately at Iris. Amidst her bewildered expression, I calmly inhaled, lifted the brush, and pressed my wrist. The black ink shattered the silence of the white paper like dancing dragons and phoenixes, capturing unrestrained elegance in every stroke. Between black and white lies a universe. Within calligraphy resides boundless depth. Bravo. An elderly professor rose first to lead the applause, followed by waves of thunderous clapping that surged like a tide. Instead of the anticipated humiliation, the performance earned a standing ovation. Iris was still dazed when she stepped onto the stage to perform. She couldn't understand how a few casually written words could elicit such unconcealed admiration. How could someone as plain-looking as me gain favor with what she'd found utterly tiresome in her past life? Distraught, Iris decided to perform a song, confident that combined with her infallible beauty, she could completely overshadow me, but under the spotlight, her mind went completely blank. She couldn't recall a single lyric. Right, she's just here fooling around today, completely unprepared for, hush, get off the stage if you won't perform, can't even remember the lyrics, just a pretty face with nothing upstairs. Pretty but soulless, can't even do her damn job right. The overwhelming boos made her feel the sting of being mocked and ignored, a sensation she hadn't felt in ages, like it was from another lifetime. No, I won't go back to how things were. Scarlett, your plagiarism is downright pathetic. Her beautiful face twisted into something terrifying, like fine jade cracked with spiderweb fractures, as Iris broke down and stormed off stage, screaming, "You must have hired a ghostwriter in advance just to chase fame. Are you trying to frame me now?" What a rambling mess full of holes. If that handwriting on the big screen isn't mine, could it belong to someone who can't even remember lyrics? Do you really think calligraphers of this caliber share your narrow-mindedness? These are legendary masters gracing our New Year's gala purely for amusement. Their presence alone is an honor. My gaze swept across the room as I delivered each rebuttal with deliberate precision. Iris stood pale-faced and panting, her hands clenched rigidly at her sides, fingers twisting the fabric of her skirt. I'll be the first to admit these brushstrokes flow like celestial poetry, effortless yet powerful. Such mastery humbles me completely. The senior professor, an authority in Chinese calligraphy and painting circles, modestly explained it to me, with such assurance from an expert. The students in the audience unanimously nodded in agreement. How could she possibly cheat on the spot? She was called up by the host unexpectedly. Exactly. Trying to gain attention through plagiarism, what kind of reputation could that earn in our school? Iris is such a piece of work, embarrassing herself and then blaming her sister. Someone should do a paternity test. The hushed whispers kept reaching her ears. Iris staggered, nearly falling, her face twisted in disbelief. She couldn't believe the crowd had turned against her. Even those rich boys who used to follow her around were now speaking up in my defense. No. She must still be lacking, not beautiful or alluring enough. She needed to find that nine-tailed fox again. Overwhelmed by terror, Iris staggered away amidst the jeers, fleeing in disgrace. Watching my sister's slender figure vanish beyond the door, I sighed softly. We reap what we sow. What? Still not satisfied after stealing the spotlight and humiliating Iris today, a familiar voice spoke behind my ear. Turning, I saw none other than Orion, the legendary crown prince of the capital. In this lifetime, it seems our paths were never meant to cross. Hey, wait. Seeing me about to leave, he quickly dropped his carefree act and stepped in my path. Let's get acquainted. I'm Orion. I'm not interested in playing games with you. Stay out of my way. That legendary citywide fireworks display and sea of red roses supposedly just for me turned out to be nothing more than a drunken bet between the young master and his buddies. A wager on whether he could bed this celebrity in record time. With a metallic crunch, I crushed the soda can in my hand and tossed it at his feet, lifting icy eyes. Or I might just have to punch you. Amusing how someone who writes so delicately still packs such a violent streak. Orion shrugged helplessly at his friends. The young master had struck out on his first pickup attempt. Though Scarlett's handwriting perfectly mirrors her personality, it's oddly contradictory. He discreetly folded the stage banner, studying it repeatedly before settling on this remark. Greedy Iris craved undivided attention and sought to utterly overshadow me. After bargaining with the nine-tailed fox, she bloomed like a forced flower, radiant yet unnaturally intense. A waspish waist slender enough to be encircled with one hand, voluptuous curves straining against fabric, pert derriere, and skin pale as a vampire's in moonlight. Her beauty was breathtaking, every movement exuding irresistible charm, a paradoxical blend of youthful innocence and womanly allure in one mesmerizing form. Unlike me, Iris lacked patience, always seeking instant success without the climb. Why should she start as a supporting character? She was born to be the princess everyone adores. So when the portly boss slid his greasy hand around her waist, she didn't resist. Iris did skyrocket to fame overnight after landing the lead role through connections with a renowned director, instantly earning her the industry nickname Nepo Baby. Her wooden performance after the film's release had audiences groaning, "One bad apple truly spoiled the whole barrel." Her diva antics alienated nearly the entire entertainment industry, ensuring the other half of her fame consisted solely of relentless public backlash. The old professor took a great liking to my calligraphy and considered taking me on as his final disciple. I hesitated, but the spirit of the writing brush noticed and encouraged me. It's not like I'll stop being your master just because you learn from him. Go out and explore more, learn from others' strengths, synthesize the knowledge, and improve your own weaknesses. So I began studying with the old professor on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, with the brush spirit on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, reserving Sundays exclusively for martial arts. But to my surprise, the idol Orion was waiting for me at the old professor's place, looking perfectly at ease. "What are you doing here?" I frowned. Since when had this playboy changed his ways, swapping his wild lifestyle for something tame? At the party, I was smitten at first sight, so I came. 5. He arched an eyebrow, his captivating peach blossom eyes brimming with unspoken affection. Too bad his flirtatious gaze was wasted on someone blind to charm. "Want Iris's contact info?" I hastily tore off a sheet, scribbled the details, tossed it over, then buried myself in the professor's treasured collection. I came specifically to study calligraphy. Orion suffered another setback. The newly unearthed artifact rubbing still carried the scent of earth, sitting by the window frame. I gently unfolded it like plucking the strings of history. No sunlight, however brilliant, could rival this profound weight. Enthralled, I read from noon till dusk, with Orion remaining unexpectedly by my side. Seeing me prepare to leave, he hastily spoke up. "I came specifically to learn calligraphy. My little sister's completely obsessed with handwriting at such a young age. That untrustworthy guy kept insisting. I really do have a sister, so what? Didn't our deep-pocketed young masterson manage to hire that famous professor?" Packing up my things, I rolled up my sleeves ready for action. Just as I was debating whether to punch him, a screen suddenly lit up before me. Orion handed me his phone. "Look, this is my little sister. She's quite adorable, isn't she? I've lost count of my illegitimate brothers, but she's the only sister who survived. She's really into calligraphy. Next week's her birthday. I just want to give her a little surprise." "All right then. See you next week." My immediate agreement came so abruptly that Orion, who still had more to say, stood frozen in astonishment. My heart pounded like war drums. The spirit's emotional turbulence must be extreme. Even 2 deep breaths couldn't steady me. "Was it your original master?" The resemblance, after all these years and changes, who would have thought? The Ouija spirit's ethereal voice still carried a faint tremble. "Don't worry, we'll confirm everything at next week's birthday party." I felt genuinely happy for her. At the birthday gala, the newly upgraded Iris stole the show with her 1,000 charms, carrying herself like the undisputed star of the evening. After her crimson lips merely grazed the wine glass, the remaining Bordeaux became instant trophy for scrambling guests. She basked in endless admiration and praise, only for it to come to an abrupt halt the next moment. Emerging slowly from the dim light, I wore no makeup, just my ordinary face, yet like a half-bloomed lotus in early summer. Unadorned yet radiant with an undeniable glow. "What brings you here?" Alarm bells rang in my mind as Iris frowned, fixing me with a hostile stare. "I specifically invited Miss Scarlet." "Got a problem with that." Orion appeared at just the right moment and stood by my side. "As for you, I don't recall seeing your name on the birthday party guest list." The blunt remark left Iris pale with rage. She had indeed crashed the party as someone's +1. The one I loved in vain in my past life has chosen my sister's side again in this reincarnation. How naive I was to underestimate this seemingly innocent sister of mine. She's been secretly scheming all along, and somehow managed to win Orion over. She lowered her head slightly, revealing her fair neck, her delicate face flushing pink as she parted her cherry-like lips. "Sorry, Orion." Her words trailed off as her lashes fluttered violently, tears welling up, utterly heartbreaking to behold. With such a delicate beauty before one's eyes, who could bear to reprimand her? Orion could. Having seen countless beauties throw themselves at him with coy affectations, he'd built immunity and simply rolled his eyes. "If you're embarrassed, just leave. Don't shamelessly overstay your welcome." The whole banquet instantly turned to stare, eagerly lapping up the drama like vultures. "And since when were we close? Stop clinging, it's annoying." Iris' previously forced tears now threatened to spill for Real, her red-rimmed eyes shooting daggers at me. "Can't even lie down without catching strays." But I was here on a mission today, so I just shrugged innocently and turned to leave in search of the birthday party's real leading lady. As I passed Iris, she somehow defied gravity, despite moving in the opposite direction, twisting her body as if to collapse onto me. Thankfully, my Sonda training kicked in. I pivoted my shoulder lightning fast and took the full impact of her collision. Now that no one actually fell, don't go blaming an innocent man for tripping you on purpose. With a hand over my racing heart, I gave myself major props for that quick thinking. "Oh no, my necklace is gone. This is a vintage piece specially loaned by the brand. It's never even been for sale." After frantically searching the area, a flustered Iris clutched her slender neck and cried out in panic. The crowd immediately took the hint and formed a perfect circle around her. leaving center stage for her dramatic performance. After an agonizing 2 minutes, the inevitable moment finally arrived. Thief, it must have been Scarlet, you just swiped it, cycling through disbelief, rage, heartbreak, and sudden realization in mere seconds. Iris delivered the performance of her lifetime before collapsing weakly to the floor, her trembling finger pointing accusingly at me. I know you've always been jealous of me, prettier, more popular, but stealing my necklace, little sister. That's too much. The necklace is too valuable for me to replace. You can have any other jewelry I own. Please give it back to me, sweetheart. 6. She began sobbing quietly. What's this antique necklace you never sell? Name your price. I'll take it. Orion's wealth sure gave him that commanding tone. I reached out to stop him, then crouched down with amused exasperation to face Iris, who was curled up on the floor putting on her pitiful act. Dearest sister, should I call you foolish or downright wicked? Bold enough to frame me in broad daylight, with all these witnesses watching. After last time, I thought you'd learned better. Same old tricks. That antique necklace, you slipped it into my pocket the moment we touched, didn't you? My icy glare sent a shiver down her spine, yet Iris stiffened her neck with the air of someone holding all the cards. Catch the thief with the stolen goods. Go ahead. Spin your silver-tongued excuses and pin everything on me. I couldn't afford that necklace. But security cameras, that's 21st century common sense. No amount of smooth talk beats cold hard evidence. Oh sister, what a certified imbecile, all venom and no wit. I giggled behind my hand. Orion snapped his fingers and gave a nod, prompting someone to immediately leave and investigate. Her face drained of color, sharp nails digging into her palms. Iris's eyes burned with madness as she sprang up from the ground. Scarlet, you thief. You're only getting away with this because Orion's powerful family protects you. Pearly tears streamed down as she defiantly tilted her head up, letting the dazzling beauty of her face catch the light. Whatever the truth is, sob, I admit defeat. This is the self-injury stratagem from the 36 stratagems. She's acting like she's suffered some grave injustice, but isn't everyone here a shrewd operator? Who said Iris was just a pretty face? That was some Oscar-worthy acting. Thought you could get away with anything because of your looks. Well, you've met your match now. What a dirty trick, Iris. She's going all out to destroy her own sister. The giant screen behind us suddenly lit up, broadcasting the surveillance footage magnified tenfold. Everyone could clearly see Iris removing the necklace from her own neck and swiftly slipping it into my pocket during our passing encounter. Fake. This is all edited footage. With the truth exposed, Iris shrieked like a banshee. Her frenzied outburst met with scornful and mocking glances from the crowd. Brother, did something happen? Hearing the commotion, Kai obediently came over and asked. Nothing, Orion answered with a gentle head pat, his previously gloomy expression shifting into a smile. There was no need to verify identities anymore. With my heart pounding wildly, I took out the gift box I'd prepared long ago and opened it. A jade green brush with a crimson tip lay there, emanating a soft, lustrous glow. How does this brush compare to your antique necklace? I condescendingly interrogated Iris, a peerless treasure. That glaze alone speaks of extraordinary value, gasped a connoisseur. Iris, how many times have you framed me with these pathetic, vicious schemes? Don't you see how ridiculous you are? I flung the necklace at her in disgust. Keep your filthy trinket, I want no part of it, clearing my throat. I regained my composure and announced clearly, this is a birthday celebration. And I came specifically to bring gifts for the guest of honor. Me, staring at the jade brush that felt both foreign and familiar. Kai suddenly felt his heart race. It was the joy of a long-awaited reunion. As she took it from my hand, the ethereal figure of the spirit scribe materialized before me, her perpetually icy demeanor finally showing the first cracks. You're free now, wishing you joy. You didn't have to. I wasn't forcing. Her voice caught in her throat. I've grown up now, able to hold the pen myself and write my own story. This parting is only temporary, just paving the way for a grander reunion. The corner of my lips curled. Besides, I'm only borrowing you for a while. Locking eyes with me, the spirit understood the unspoken sentiment in my words. After bowing repeatedly in gratitude, it finally returned to Kai's side. Scarlet, you're insane, recognizing the pen. Iris widened her eyes in disbelief. But that's your guardian. Wait, without her guardian spirit, wouldn't this actually work in my favor? A wicked thought suddenly crossed her mind as she covered her mouth, cackling darkly. Lord Ninetails, you must help me again this time. 11. But nothing in this world comes without a price. After the birthday gala, whether intentional or not, Iris's scandal spread like wildfire through elite social circles. What good is beauty without substance? She became nothing more than a plaything. Image-conscious elites discarded her like trash, seeing her as a vulgar liability that tarnished their status. With her pride in tatters, Iris turned to dark spirits, bartering her last shred of dignity, but her charm had faded. The caliber of suitors drawn to her fading beauty kept deteriorating. Once surrounded by the creme de la creme, she now attracted nothing but tasteless nouveau riches with more money than class. Aging came hand in hand with this sense of disparity. Staring at her reflection, that face which had reached peak beauty only to wither abruptly, now creased with wrinkles, Iris clawed at it madly. Countless injections and every technological remedy proved futile. Warped into depravity, she burned with hatred. At dusk, following my usual routine, I took the path back to campus after martial arts practice, under the amber streetlights casting elongated shadows. A sudden unease struck me, my elbow shot backward in a defensive strike. "Don't hit me." "It's just me." Orion emerged from the shadows, narrowly avoiding a strike. "You're quite alert, aren't you? What's up?" I withdrew my hand, the chill at the nape of my neck lingering as I paused. "Kai really loved the gift you gave last time. I still owe you proper thanks and a return gift." Orion would never admit this was just a chance encounter, merely an excuse to strike up conversation. "Watch out." Before I could finish those 2 words, his shout reached my ears. I barely managed to dodge sideways, narrowly avoiding the swinging wooden club. The burly stranger swung his club with vicious intent, each strike aimed straight at my head. Just one. My sister's as dumb as ever, I thought, rolling my eyes internally. 7. Who the hell are you to act up in front of me? Don't you know I'm the crown prince of the capital? Great, another useless helper. I gathered all my strength, clenched my fists, and took down my opponent in 3 quick moves before Orion could finish his sentence. Pathetic, all of you are pathetic. Cloaked in heavy clothing with her face hidden beneath a hat, Iris trembled with rage as she glared at the bruised men curled up on the ground, in her prime. This pathetic fool wouldn't have dared lay a finger on Scarlet, let alone come near her. Her venomous eyes flashed as she violently turned the ignition, the abrupt motion dislodged strands of graying hair from her hood. The rearview mirror reflected sunken, bloodshot eyes, dull and aged beyond recognition in mere days. "Scarlet, this is all your fault. Your face was perfectly fine in our past life. I knew it. You've reincarnated too. You deliberately tricked me into choosing the 9-tailed fox." How vicious. Consumed by overwhelming hatred, Iris stomped on the accelerator like a madwoman, the car roaring to life as it shot forward. "This time, I'll start over. I'll go back to the very beginning." But fate had other plans. Overcome by agitation, her eyes bloodshot, Iris suddenly tasted iron in her throat as the car lurched forward. Her frail, malnourished body, obsessed with the toxic Paleon-thin beauty standard, betrayed her. The steering wheel jerked, sending the vehicle careening straight into a concrete wall. Bang! The car tumbled violently before skidding to a stop. Crushed like a tin can, Iris died with her hate-filled eyes still wide open. She seemed to see her guardian spirit, the 9-tailed fox, and her lips trembled weakly. "Lord Ninetails, save me. Please help me one more time. Silly child, look at your pitiful state. How wretched." The 9-tailed fox sighed elegantly, clicking her tongue twice. "Overripe souls are simply unpalatable." "So it was you." In a flash of realization, Iris saw her life flash before her eyes, remembering the sly grin the 9-tailed fox concealed each time she begged to become more beautiful. "You seduced me, you killed me, I'll haunt you even in death." With her last breath escaping, her head lulled as a stray thought crossed her mind. Being a fox spirit really isn't all it's cracked up to be. "You're so brave." Thumbs up. Orion was genuinely impressed, his handsome face showing not a trace of shame. Suddenly irritated, I rose on tiptoe to get in his face, staring him down without blinking. What?" Orion stammered, blinking nervously. "Don't tell me you've got a crush on me." "No." Totally asking for it. I swung and landed a solid punch, something I'd wanted to do for lifetimes, finally done in this moment. All my pent-up emotions released, an unstoppable grin spread across my face as I laughed out loud in pure joy. "Damn." Orion froze for a second before snapping out of it and catching up to me, first time in my life. "Scarlet, you nearly knocked me senseless. You can't just walk away from that, can you?" Asking for another beating. Not far away, the 9-tailed fox who was just about to feast on its delicious meal suddenly found itself shrouded in shadow. "Do I taste good?" the vengeful spirit Iris asked with her gaping maw. "This time, you're going to feel my wrath." Story 2. In the high-temperature apocalypse, the outdoor temperature reaches 60 degrees Celsius. Yet I am locked in the balcony by my younger brother, Emma. "Kneel down and beg me, and I'll let you in." My younger brother, Silas, said to me with a smug look on his face, and he even made a face on purpose to irritate me. I pounded on the door with all my strength. Blood gradually seeped from my knuckles, but my parents turned a blind eye and looked at me with disdain. In the end, I died of dehydration. Reborn. I decide to get away from this demonic family and survive on my own. 1. In my previous life, a week before the high-temperature apocalypse arrived, Emma, get down on the ground quickly. I want to ride on your back like a horse. I saw Silas standing with his hands on his hips, bossing me around. I glared at him furiously, holding back the urge to hit him. At this moment, my mother came over and said, "Go and hang up the clothes quickly. You're already so old, but you still have no sense of what to do. I'm really afraid that your future mother-in-law will kick you out of the house." My father was lying on the sofa, chuckling as he held his phone. "That's right, you're just a waste of money. Why did you have to go to college? You should have been married off earlier to get the bride price for me. Waste of money, waste of money." My younger brother started shouting over and over again. I endured them and comforted myself that things would be better when school started. I was hanging up the clothes on the balcony and felt that the sun was extremely blinding. Something was not right. It was already 6 p.m., but the sun was still high in the sky. Just as I turned to enter the house, my younger brother locked the balcony door with a click. My heart sank, and I quickly turned the doorknob. My younger brother, Silas, waved the key in his hand. "Waste of money, kneel down and beg me," through the door. My eyes filled with tears, and I glared at him. "Mom, Dad, please open the door quickly, it's too hot outside, and I'll get heatstroke." I patted the door anxiously and vigorously until my hands went numb. "Knock, knock, what are you knocking for? Is it really that hot?" My father sat up from the sofa and scolded me a few words, then lay down again. "Emma, what's wrong with begging your younger brother? If you don't beg him now, who will send you off when you get married in the future?" My mother shouted at me and pointed at me. "Get out of the way. You're blocking my view of the TV." My father threw a remote control at my mother. My mother picked up the remote control. "It's all your fault, you waste of money. You made me get scolded by your father. Silas, come with Mom. Let's ignore her and let her reflect on her actions on the balcony." My younger brother made a face at me as he walked away, looking very proud. It was almost 7 p.m., but the sun still showed no sign of setting. Sweat beads rolled down my head one by one. Suddenly, there was an explosion. It turned out that the floor-to-ceiling glass windows of several households across the way that had enclosed their balconies had exploded. I heard my mother gloat. "Serves them right. Who told them to enclose their balconies and have floor-to-ceiling windows? They're not showing off now." By 10 p.m., because I kept hitting the door with my hands, my knuckles became swollen, and blood even started to seep out. The water in my body was disappearing bit by bit, and I no longer had the strength to hit the door. I hid in a small patch of shadow under the air conditioner's outdoor unit and the clothes, but it didn't help at all. The scorching sun was still high in the sky. I raised my hand, wanting to call my parents. Just as I met my younger brother's gaze, he dragged my parents to the master bedroom. He even stuck out his tongue at me triumphantly as he turned back. In a daze, I heard Silas say to my parents, "Mom and Dad, you go to sleep first. I'll go and open the door for my sister." Then came my mother's gentle voice. "My son is so kind. He's not like that waste of money." My father echoed, "Of course, look at whose child he is." I hoped that Silas would open the door and save me, but he walked to the balcony, looking at me, who was on the verge of death. He started wiggling his bottom and sticking out his tongue. "Waste of money, beg me quickly." I closed my eyes in despair and completely lost consciousness. I don't know how long it had passed, but the burning sensation on my body had disappeared. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back in the storage room. Yes, the room my family gave me was a storage room. I've been reborn. I picked up my phone. There was still 1 week left until Silas locked me in the balcony, and the temperature was already as high as 40 degrees Celsius at this time, and I must leave this home now and find a shelter to escape the high temperature. 2. My name is Emma, and I was born into a family that is extremely patriarchal. When my mother gave birth to me, the whole family was disappointed because I was a girl, but since it was the first child, they kept me. After that, my parents had 3 unborn daughters aborted in a row, and finally, they gave birth to their precious son, Silas. Since Silas was born, I have become his slave, and everyone in the family listens to him. In order to get the tuition fees for school, I took on all the household chores at home voluntarily. On the day I was admitted to university, my parents didn't agree with me going. In the end, my father reluctantly took me to apply for a student loan only after hearing that a female college student could fetch a higher bride price. And I was constantly bullied by Silas every day. A few years ago, relying on his young age, he insisted on touching my chest while sleeping at night, and my mother acquiesced to it. Those humiliating days made my life miserable. Thinking back on all the things in my previous life and the upcoming high-temperature apocalypse, I must find a part-time job as soon as possible. Suddenly, Silas rushed in and directly pulled off my quilt. I got up abruptly. At this moment, I was only wearing my underwear, and there was nowhere to hide, after all. It was very difficult to turn around in the storage room, and only a bed could fit in it. On this day in my previous life, he also snatched my quilt like this. Then I was so angry that I fought with him for the quilt, and as a result, I received 2 slaps from my mother. My father also said, "You little slut, you're not even wearing clothes. Who are you trying to seduce?" Silas ran out with my quilt in his arms, his chubby body, although he was only 10 years old, wobbled as he ran. "Mom, my sister is going to hit me, my sister is going to hit me." Yes, before I could get up, he went to complain to my mother. He was like this usually. After bullying me, he would go and complain to my mother and shift the blame onto me. In this life, I didn't chase after him to get the quilt back. Instead, I put on my clothes first. As soon as I walked out of the storage room, I saw my mother's fierce gaze. "You waste of money. Why are you bullying Silas?" I calmly told her. How could I possibly bully Silas? After all, he is the only male in our family. My mother looked at me with a strange look. "You know it. Anyway, you're just a waste of money. Don't forget to buy a car, a house, and help your younger brother get married in the future." My father added fuel to the fire beside her. "Be filial to me in the future and get me a large bride price. Don't worry, Mom and Dad, after I graduate, I'll hand over all my salary to you and get you a big bride price. My parents and younger brother, in this life, I will definitely be filial to you." 3. I simply packed my things and pretended to tell them that I had found a part-time job. I was going out to earn money. Hearing this, my parents were naturally overjoyed. They kept asking how much the salary was. I said it was 100 yuan a day, and it included accommodation but not food. Then my mother immediately said, "We don't have the money to give you for food." I looked up and smiled obsequiously at them. "I know. I won't ask you for the food expenses. As long as you let me take some food from home, I'll cook it myself in the dormitory." My father said upon hearing this, "Bring back all your salary when you get paid. Don't eat my food for nothing." My younger brother, Silas, shouted, "I want a tablet. I want to play games. Did you hear that? Don't forget to buy a tablet for your younger brother. Don't come back if you don't buy it. And also, bring back all your salary without keeping a single cent." Looking at their aggressive faces, I felt a wave of nausea in my heart. "Of course, I won't come back. I understand, Mom and Dad." I pulled out my suitcase and packed away more than half a bag of the remaining noodles, bread, instant noodles, rice, and flour at home. After that, I also packed away more than half a box of drinks and milk. I only left them enough food for about 5 or 6 days. I know that they won't go out to buy food until all the supplies are completely used up, because the temperature will get higher and higher in the next few days, and they will just sit and wait for their supplies to run out. Oh, right, and Silas's snack cabinet, I definitely can't let it go. I took up my school bag and walked straight to Silas's large bedroom with floor-to-ceiling windows. I didn't deserve to have such a bedroom. I could only curl up in the storage room. When I opened his snack cabinet, it was filled with all kinds of imported snacks that my mother bought for him, as well as various toys and figurines, and these were things that I had never had. Silas came over. "Waste of money. What are you doing? These are all mine. Don't touch them." I glanced at my mother and saw a trace of shock flash in her eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. "Emma, your younger brother is the only male in our family. It's normal for him to eat some snacks." Yes, I had to work part-time to earn my living expenses, and this cabinet full of snacks of his was enough for my food expenses for 2 semesters. I suppressed my anger. "Silas, my part-time job doesn't provide food. Can you share some of your snacks with me? Then I'll have the strength to work and be able to buy you the latest tablet." Silas, hearing me flattering him in a humble tone, slowly moved his chubby little body aside. "You can take some." I opened a woven bag for packing luggage and almost emptied the snack cabinet. "Don't worry, Silas. I'll buy you more snacks when I get my salary." My mother stared at me fiercely. "You really eat a lot. Don't forget how kind your younger brother is to you. Buy him a car and a house after you graduate." At the door, I saw my father still lying on the sofa, giggling at his phone. "You slut, don't forget to bring back all your salary to me." I held my breath. I know. The moment I closed the door, I felt a great sense of relief. Waves of heat hit me, and fine beads of sweat quickly appeared on my forehead. With a suitcase and a woven bag, how could I find a suitable shelter? It's too hot. The temperature must be more than 40 degrees Celsius now. As soon as I walked out of the community, I felt thirsty and was on the verge of getting heat stroke. Looking at the distorted heat waves on the asphalt road, I didn't hesitate to walk into the 7-Eleven. I bought an ice cream and felt much better while blowing the air conditioner. Flipping through the recruitment app, it was definitely unrealistic to look for a part-time job now. Where can I escape the high temperature? In my previous life, I died early, and I didn't know what happened later. Could it be that I'm going to be roasted to death outside in advance in this life? I told myself not to panic. I must stay calm at this moment, for, just when I was at a loss, I suddenly saw a recruitment advertisement for security guards at a cold chain transportation company in the part-time job group of my school. In a cold chain transportation company, there must be a lot of cold storage facilities. A cold storage, isn't that the best place to escape the high-temperature apocalypse? It's really a way out when all seems lost. I was overjoyed inside. I immediately contacted the person in charge to sign up and told them that I could start working today. Due to the recent high temperature and the not high salary, not many people signed up. There were only 4 people in total, including me. Looking at the high temperature warnings popping up on various apps on my phone screen, I found a new glimmer of hope. A text message caught my eye. Since the temperature in City A has exceeded 45 degrees Celsius, starting tomorrow, it is recommended that everyone work from home and outdoor workers take a vacation. I had to speed up. After contacting the address, I took a bus to the suburbs. I have to say that the seats in the bus were really hot. Although there was air conditioning, the driver was still sweating profusely. This cold chain transportation company was located on the outskirts of the city. I thought the temperature in the suburbs would be lower, but it turned out to be no different from that in the urban area. After arriving, the supervisor told us that due to the high temperature, there were many people on vacation, and only a few routes were still in operation for transportation. What we had to do was to take photos and check in the cold storage when unloading and picking up goods. Great, I didn't expect to be able to access the cold storage so quickly. After the supervisor gave us the instructions, he told us that he would also take a vacation tomorrow because the temperature was really too high. Then he gave each of us a box of Reborn liquid. Looking at the rising temperature, I really wanted to remind the supervisor to stock up on some supplies, but in the end, I didn't say it. The 4 of us part-time workers during the summer vacation, 2 men and 2 women, lived in different dormitories respectively. My roommate and colleague was named Sophia. It was obvious that she had the same fate as me. We really were in the same boat. After unloading the truck and taking photos at 7 p.m., the sun still showed no sign of setting. I don't know what's wrong with this weather, Sophia complained, looking at the shriveled and curled up grass on the ground. I wondered if the end of the world was coming early. In my previous life, although I noticed that the sun set late before I was locked in the balcony, I didn't think much of it. Could it be that the high temperature apocalypse is going to come early in this life? I raised my head, and the sunlight was still so dazzling that I couldn't open my eyes. After 8 p.m., the sun slowly started to set, but the temperature was still 40 degrees Celsius. In a few days, when the high temperature comes, I'm afraid that even having a meal will be a problem. I must start preparing. Looking at my remaining balance of 0.97 yuan, I took out a credit card. I had applied for it in school to get a cup. I didn't expect it to come in handy today. The nearest place was Sam's Club, so I placed an order on Sam's Club. I selected a lot of rice, flour, cooking oil, and other supplies, but I found that no one accepted the order. I turned to look at Sophia, who was using a phone with a broken screen, and asked her, "Sophia, do you believe in the end of the world?" She raised her head and looked at me with an incredulous look. "The end of the world in novels?" Yes, her eyes widened. "I believe it, I believe it." She was very good looking, with double eyelids, a small mouth, long legs, and fair skin. Although her clothes were a bit ordinary, from our previous conversations, I learned that she had a total of 4 older sisters and 1 younger brother, and she was the 5th child. Her tuition fees were also paid with a student loan, otherwise, she would have been married off to get the bride price for her younger brother. I looked into her shining eyes. "Then do you want to play an end-of-the-world survival game?" "Ah. Don't you notice that the temperature recently has been very abnormal? Even the sun is setting later and later." She nodded vigorously at me. "This is a precursor to the end of the world. We must start preparing." "How do we prepare?" "Come with me to stock up on goods tonight." The frequency of vehicles at the cold chain factory had decreased a lot recently, and I guessed it was also due to the high temperature. After 7 p.m., some vehicles entered and wouldn't go out again. That is to say, we could drive out at 8 p.m. to stock up on goods at Sam's Club. So, how to get the car key? Drivers here usually drive the vehicles back before 7 p.m. If they come back after 7 p.m., we don't need to take photos and record them when they're stored. Looking at Sophia, I suddenly came up with an idea. At 6 p.m., I went to the only grocery store at the entrance and bought a carton of Zhonghua cigarettes. Fortunately, I could pay by credit card, otherwise, I wouldn't have had enough money. When I came back, Sophia looked at me strangely. "Senior, what's this for? We'll go together later." I gave her an affirmative look. Several drivers came back one after another. They all said that the company would be on unified leave tomorrow, and there would be no more deliveries in the near future. After all, the temperature was too high. The temperature inside the cold chain vehicles couldn't be guaranteed, and some items couldn't be transported anymore. Oh, I see. Then this carton of Zhonghua cigarettes seemed to be of no use. I summoned up my courage and walked towards one of the drivers. Theodore, hand over the car key to me. Theodore was the most punctual among these drivers, always clocking in on time before 7 p.m. What's up, Emma? Theodore wiped the sweat off his head. I walked over. Everyone's on leave tomorrow. Give me the car key. In case something crops up, it won't cause any delays. Theodore looked at me suspiciously. After all, as a girl, even if there was any work, it wouldn't fall on me. I took out my driver's license and waved it. I have a driver's license. I'm an experienced driver. Theodore happily handed me the key. Okay, did you talk to the supervisor about this? I talked to him in the morning. This is also what the supervisor meant, I said, trying to look calm. Theodore threw me the key. After thinking for a while, I asked Sophia to bring the carton of Zhonghua cigarettes over and stuffed it into Theodore's hands. Theodore, it's extremely hot. Stock up on more food and stay at home. Emma, it's not easy for a young girl like you to work outside. Take care of yourself, Theodore said. Hearing Theodore's words of concern, I felt a pang of sadness. I had never heard such concern from my parents even once. Looking at Theodore's sweat-soaked back, I told Sophia to get ready immediately. At 7:30 p.m., the sun was still high in the sky. Just walking back to the dormitory after taking photos in the cold storage, I felt my arms turning red. There weren't many people left in the cold chain company now. Sophia and I put on our security uniforms and drove off, heading straight for the largest Sam's Club nearby. 6. When the explosion happens, there's a high chance of water and power outages. So the most important thing for us is to solve the energy problem. First, we purchased dozens of portable gas stoves and plan to store them in the cold storage for future use. If there's no electricity, we can still cook with them. Second, there's the issue of water sources. This isn't a problem. We just need to bring back large and small buckets of water. Then there's the problem of going to the toilet, since there's no toilet in the cold storage. I prepared dozens of boxes of cat litter as a backup. We couldn't overlook any aspect of clothing, food, shelter, and transportation. We picked 2 mattresses and 2 quilts. In the high-temperature apocalypse, we wouldn't need too many clothes, considering the abnormal climate. I also bought some windbreakers, boots, hats, raincoats, and umbrellas. Next was food. The cold chain company had many warehouses for storing different items. We planned to move into the warehouse specifically for storing frozen meat. In this way, with the frozen meat in the cold storage, food wouldn't be a problem. In addition, I bought some ready-to-eat foods, 50 boxes of self-heating hot pots, 50 boxes of self-heating rice, 10 boxes of self-heating porridge, 10 boxes of self-heating noodles, 10 boxes of self-heating instant noodles. At the beginning of the apocalypse, we could rely on these self-heating foods. Moreover, we purchased some vitamins, protein powder, calcium tablets, and other health products. It would be impossible to cook every day in the apocalypse, so we also bought a series of compressed biscuits and compressed vegetable packs. Besides, we bought dozens of boxes of various beverages like coconut juice, apple juice, and banana juice. Anyway, with the cold storage, they wouldn't go bad quickly. After that, we got 20 large bags of rice and flour each, and 20 barrels of cooking oil. Then at Sam's Club, we saw some outdoor survival tools, entrenching tools, kerosene lamps, ropes, tents. We got 10 sets of each. Suddenly, I saw a running generator, a new product. I asked the sweating salesperson beside me, can this thing really generate electricity? The salesperson didn't want to lose a big customer, so he panted and wiped his sweat while accompanying us around. Yes, ma'am. This is our company's new product. Okay, let me ask the supervisor if he wants it, you know. We're purchasing for the company, I said. I walked aside and pretended to make a phone call, then came back and told the salesperson to get one for us. After all, if it wasn't for the company, the salesperson might not believe we'd buy so many things. Looking at my watch, it was already 8 p.m., but the sun still showed no sign of setting. The air conditioning in the supermarket seemed to have little effect. After walking for a while, I felt my whole body drenched in sweat. I looked at Sophia's wet bangs, and my own sun protection jacket was already soaked through. The salesperson asked if we needed anything else and said that workers could help load the goods into the car. That was good. I directly made a list and gave it to him. When it was time to pay, I found that my credit card limit wasn't enough. What should I do? I saw the temporary credit limit, 60,000, displayed below. I immediately clicked to increase the limit after sending the verification code. It was successful. By the time we loaded all the goods into the car, it was almost 9 p.m., and the sun had just started to set. Senior, with so many things we bought, will we get targeted? Sophia asked. This was also something I'd been thinking about. In the face of the apocalypse, the scariest thing was other people. Seeing that I didn't respond, Sophia added, "Oh, right, Senior, medicine. We still need to prepare medicine." I thought for a while. Sophia, do you remember that there's a cold storage room in our company specifically for storing medicine, right? How could I forget? Sophia exclaimed, slapping her forehead. 7. On the way back, the sun had just set, and the sky in the distance was still slightly bright. When we drove back, we met the 2 male colleagues who had come to work with us before. One of the men helped us open the gate and asked, "Why are you two back in the car?" "This damn weather is too hot. Even with the air conditioning on, it's not very cool," I said with a smile and threw him a bottle of water through the car window. "Who knows, we're helping Theodore pick up some goods. He had something urgent to attend to." The other man was in the security booth at the gate, holding his phone and looking at us sideways. I noticed Sophia's flustered expression and patted the back of her hand to reassure her. "We're going in." I waved to the 2 men from the rear view mirror. I saw them leave through the gate. In such hot weather, they actually had the nerve to skip work. I drove the car directly to the cold storage room for storing medicine, taking advantage of the fact that there were few people around. Sophia and I started unloading the goods. The temperature in this cold storage was minus 20 degrees, but once the apocalypse came and the power went out, the temperature would surely rise. We unloaded large quantities of supplies back and forth. Although we were soaked in sweat, we didn't get tired of it. It was 10 p.m., but instead of setting, the sun seemed to have grown several times larger. Was this just my imagination? Sophia and I looked at the sky simultaneously, our eyes filled with fear. Suddenly, a news report caught our attention. Due to the influence of a superplanet, the Earth will experience polar day in the future. The duration is unknown, and the temperature will continue to rise. Citizens are advised not to go out, prepare supplies appropriately, and stay cool at home. All of a sudden, this news was being broadcast on major online platforms. There were even some outdoor bloggers frying eggs on the road. In 10 minutes, the eggs were 70% cooked. I knew that this day had come earlier after all. Sophia and I packed up the things in the dormitory with umbrellas and moved everything to the cold storage. From then on, we would stay in the cold storage and not go out again. As the temperature kept rising, the display in the cold storage showed that the temperature had reached minus 10 degrees. The old frost on the walls began to melt. Countless explosions filled our ears. Sophia and I, wearing thin down jackets, smiled at each other. All of a sudden, the sounds of police cars, ambulances, and fire engines filled the entire city. Sophia and I cooked the meat and ate the fat beef covered in sesame paste. Cheers, we raised our Coke bottles simultaneously, celebrating our wisdom. At this moment, all our fatigue faded away. When we opened the video app, there were reports of the apocalyptic situation everywhere. In the hospitals, there were suddenly many patients with heat stroke, and many people were lying on the ground, moaning. There were still many outdoor bloggers persevering. "Guys, look at this thermometer. The air temperature is already 50 degrees now, guys. I'm going to challenge staying in the sun for an hour without any sun protection measures." These challenging bloggers must be crazy. They were risking their lives. There were also some knowledge-sharing bloggers sharing tips on how to prevent heat stroke. The topic of Wuxingxingqi being snapped up was trending one after another. Looking at the cold storage room full of medicine, I felt a strong sense of security. I was too bored and didn't want to watch these anxiety-inducing news reports anymore. At least now, I wouldn't be roasted to death on the balcony like in my previous life. Oh, right, I could check the surveillance of my home and see what my demonic parents and younger brother were up to. Previously, my parents installed surveillance cameras all over the house without any blind spots to keep an eye on their precious son at all times. 8. As soon as I turned on the surveillance, I saw my chubby younger brother yelling, "I want ice cream, I want ice cream, it's too hot, go out and buy it for me right now." My younger brother threw his toys around, punching and kicking, forcing my mother to go out and buy him ice cream. "It's 50 degrees outside, how can I go out? I'll get heat stroke as soon as I step out." There was still electricity at the moment, and with the air conditioning on, it should still be cool at home. My father was still lying on the sofa. Perhaps annoyed by the noise, he said, "What's so hard about going out to buy him an ice cream? Can't you see that my son wants it? I also feel like having an iced beer. Buy a dozen while you're at it." My mother exclaimed, "If only Emma were here, we could just send her out to buy them." They only think of me when there's work to be done. With the temperature over 50 degrees outside, they clearly want me to get heat stroke. My father turned over. "That slut isn't here, is she?" She must hand over all her salary when she comes back. My mother showed a fierce look, clenched her fists, and gritted her teeth. She definitely has to. Looking at the scene, I wondered if my parents really hated me that much. Back then, because my mother gave birth to me and had several consecutive pregnancies with girls, she was severely tortured by my grandmother and often beaten and scolded by my father. She took out all the unfair treatment she suffered on me. Wasn't she a woman too? I was her own flesh and blood. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. I saw my mother put on her shoes and go out with an umbrella. Seeing me cry, Sophia brought over a bowl of self-heating rice to comfort me. I started telling her about all the unfair treatment I'd suffered since I was a child, and she cried as she listened. Then she began to complain about her parents and the older sisters and younger brother who often bullied her. We hugged each other and cried. Then started enjoying the self-heating rice and the just thawed ready-to-eat shrimp. Suddenly, the surveillance at the door alerted us that someone was moving. I quickly clicked to check and saw that it was my mother coming back. Putting down the umbrella, I could see from the surveillance that my mother was red-faced and out of breath, with sweat constantly streaming down her cheeks. As soon as my younger brother saw my mother come back, he rushed over to get his ice cream. But he found that it had already melted into soup, so he immediately lay on the ground, crying and making a scene. My father saw this, picked him up, and said, "Stop crying, just put it in the fridge and let it freeze for a while." My mother quickly put the ice cream in the fridge. My father looked at her. "Where's my beer?" My mother said dejectedly, "Honey, all the beer is sold out. The supermarket has been emptied." My father threw the remote control on the ground and said through gritted teeth, "Useless woman, you can't even buy beer, what's the point of having you?" My mother opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but she fell straight to the ground. Mom, what's wrong with you?" My younger brother quickly ran over to check. Seeing that my mother didn't move, my younger brother started shouting again. My father kicked my younger brother aside. "All you do is cry and yell." Then he took out my younger brother's ice cream from the fridge and started eating it. My younger brother shed silent tears but didn't dare to make a sound, completely ignoring my mother, who had fainted. With the extremely high temperature outside, my mother must have fainted from heatstroke. Seeing all this, I didn't feel the slightest bit of pity. Instead, I felt a sense of satisfaction. It seemed that I had inherited my father's cold-blooded genes. After a while, since my mother still didn't move, my father dragged her to the bathroom, turned on the shower head, and after a while, my mother woke up, coughing. My mother lay weakly on the ground. "Honey, please save me." My younger brother also crawled beside my mother. "Mom, Dad ate my ice cream, go buy me another one." Mom doesn't feel well." Seeing my mother start vomiting, I felt nauseous and turned off the surveillance. Although the sun still hadn't set outside, Sophia and I were going to bed because it was already 12 a.m. A week later, the power went out. Due to the polar day phenomenon, the temperature kept rising, and many high-voltage power lines even started to catch fire on their own. The most terrifying thing had finally arrived. Although we were in the cold storage, all the frost was melting at a visible speed. We took off our down jackets and put on long-sleeved shirts and long pants. As the frozen layer melted, the cold storage was like a water curtain cave. Sophia and I had to set up a tent and stay inside it. At this time, our running generator came in handy. However, the power it generated was very weak. Even after running for several hours, it could only charge our phones by 20%, but if we used it sparingly, we could still keep in touch with the outside world. These days, many outdoor bloggers stopped their activities, and the short video apps were filled with people's miserable living conditions. Some people had died of dehydration, and some had even committed suicide by jumping off buildings. It seemed that this disaster was far more serious than I had imagined. There were also some people who started selling their wives and children in exchange for food. The dark side of human nature began to surface. From the surveillance, I saw that my mother was on the verge of death. My father was using a power bank to connect a small fan, and my younger brother begged him to let him use it for a while. My father kicked him into the corner. "Scram, I'm extremely hot." My mother lay on the ground, her face pale and her lips chapped. She couldn't even make a sound. My younger brother kept kneeling on the ground, begging my father to let him use the small fan, completely ignoring my mother's life and death. Suddenly, my mother opened her eyes and began to twitch all over. I knew this was the late stage of heatstroke. My father glanced at her impatiently. "If you're going to die, die outside. Don't dirty my house." After so many years of marriage, my father showed no sympathy or compassion at all. My mother stopped moving. She slowly closed her eyes, turned her head to the side, and 2 lines of tears rolled down. I knew she would never wake up again. Her obedient husband and the son she was so proud of showed not the slightest bit of mercy towards her. I wondered if, in the afterlife, she would have any regrets. My father glanced at my mother, what bad luck, and my younger brother never went to his mother's side. He kept begging my father for something to eat and drink. I watched all this without any emotion in my heart. Suddenly, the surveillance lost power. I guess the stored power had run out. At this moment, we heard some movement outside the cold storage. My hair stood on end. Damn it, someone had their eyes on this place. Although it was located in the suburbs, it couldn't avoid attracting some people who were out looking for supplies. However, the door of the cold storage was very sturdy. Without the key, they couldn't get in easily. After a while, the outside seemed to be quiet. Sophia and I took the ladder in the cold storage and wedged it against the door, hoping to add an extra layer of security. From now on, I would even sleep while holding an entrenching tool. Although there were still a lot of supplies left, some of them had been soaked by the melted frost, and the temperature inside the cold storage was rising continuously. I could clearly feel that we couldn't stay in this cold storage for much longer. Sophia, we can't stay here for long. Sophia nodded at me. We each packed a backpack, putting in several packs of compressed biscuits, bottles of mineral water, ropes, and several boxes of medicine, ready to run at any time. As for when the polar day would end, there was still no accurate news. Some prophetic bloggers even said that the Earth was on the verge of destruction and the world was coming to an end. It was really terrifying. Suddenly, there was a sound of someone banging on the door outside the cold storage. Sophia and I looked at each other, picked up our entrenching tools, and slowly moved towards the door of the cold storage. 10. Open the door. Open the door. We know you two are inside. A voice gasped. Hurry up and open the cold storage. Save us. This voice was. I looked at Sophia. It's them. They were the other two men who came to work here with us, so they were still around. After all, this cold chain company was so far from the city center that few people would risk coming here in this scorching heat. Sophia whispered to me, Sister Emma, should we open the door for them? Actually, this was what I was worried about too. After all, they were men. If something happened, we two women would surely be at a disadvantage. Dear sisters, please save us. It's fate that we worked in the same place, right? Please, open the door. We're really on the verge of collapse. Saving a life is better than building a 7-story pagoda. Sophia looked at me. How about we open the door for them? I don't think they're bad people. I nodded silently and shouted, Stop knocking. I'll open the door right away. The knocking stopped. Sophia and I removed the ladder and turned the big lock of the cold storage. As soon as we opened a crack in the door, a blast of heat hit us. I had trouble breathing for a moment and couldn't open my eyes. The sun was incredibly bright, the grass on the ground was all withered and yellow, and there was thick smoke in the distance. I'm afraid the air temperature was already as high as 60 degrees Celsius, and the ground temperature might be over 80 degrees. Had the high-altitude areas already been scorched? Coming quickly, the two of them squeezed in sideways, and I quickly closed the door of the cold storage. Sophia used the ladder to wedge the door again. As soon as they came in, they lay on the ground, gasping for breath. The slightly fatter one was sweating profusely. Through conversation, we learned that they also came from the part-time job group. The fat one was named Tobias, and the thin one was named Trevor. Who would have thought that they would encounter the high-temperature apocalypse when they came here? After learning about the polar day phenomenon, they also hid in a cold storage. That cold storage was filled with various frozen meats. Supposedly, they should have been able to survive, but they didn't have any pots, which was a big problem. After they ran out of snacks, they used bottles to melt some frost for drinking water. But after the power outage, the temperature in that cold storage kept rising, and the frozen meat started to rot. It was no longer habitable. Suddenly, they saw this cold storage for storing medicine and wanted to come in to find some medicine. When they found the door couldn't be opened, they were sure that Sophia and I were hiding inside. After all, when the polar day was announced, only a few of us were left to guard the cold chain company. Sister Emma, you're so smart. It seems this medicine cold storage is of much better quality than the frozen meat cold storage, Tobias said, looking around and stuffing potato chips into his mouth. I thought to myself, he could still eat so much even in the apocalypse. Trevor drank most of a bottle of water and then asked, What are you planning to do next? I paused and said, We definitely can't stay in this cold storage any longer. Now it has completely thawed, and it's only a matter of time before the temperature here rises to the same as the outdoor temperature. Sophia nodded in agreement. Trevor said, That's true, but where can we go? Tobias opened another pack of biscuits and some spicy strips. I think this place is great. There's food and water. It's good to stay here. Sophia looked at him with disdain. You won't say that when the temperature here reaches 40 degrees in a few days. At night, we each lay on our air mattresses. In the past few days, most of the frost had melted, and the ground was covered with water. The room temperature was about 20 degrees Celsius. After a tiring day, I quickly fell asleep. In the middle of the night, I suddenly felt a cold sweat on my back. Just as I was about to get up, a scream jolted me awake. 11. I rolled over and jumped up, turning on the flashlight. Sophia was sitting on the ground, holding an entrenching tool in front of her chest. Don't come any closer. Tobias lay on the air mattress with a lewd smile. Little sister, play with me. I'll take responsibility for you when the high temperature period is over. Disgusting. I raised my entrenching tool and was about to hit him, but I underestimated the strength of this fat guy. He snatched the entrenching tool from me and hit me on the head. Get out of the way. I'll deal with you after I get this little beauty. He was so despicable. Just as I was about to get up, I felt dizzy. A warm stream of blood trickled down. He actually hit my head hard. Then he walked up to Sophia, dragged her onto the air mattress, and was about to tear her clothes off. Trevor walked over and kicked Tobias aside. They saved us. How can you do this? We all come from difficult families. How can you be so shameless? Tobias sneered. Dude, it's the apocalypse. Social order is long gone. Let's each have one of these little ladies and enjoy ourselves for a few days. Trevor shouted. Go to hell. And kicked him in the head. I rushed over to help Sophia put on her clothes. Looking at her red-eyed and tearful face, I hugged her. Tobias spat out a mouthful of blood. Dude, I want to talk to you. Trevor took a step forward and was about to raise his hand when Tobias suddenly rammed into his nose. With a crack, Trevor's nose started bleeding. Then Tobias began to punch and kick him. It seemed that Trevor couldn't hold on. I forced myself to stand up, picked up the entrenching tool, and with all my strength, hit Tobias on the head. He slowly turned around, ready to kick me. Suddenly, Sophia came over and hugged me, protecting me, and Tobias slowly fell to the ground. Trevor stopped the bleeding and put his index finger under Tobias's nose to check. He's still alive. Bring the rope. Sophia immediately handed over the rope, and the three of us worked together to tie him up tightly, then tied him to the ladder by the door. After all this, I was completely exhausted. Sophia bandaged the wounds on me and Trevor. Sister Emma, thank you for saving me. Thank you too, Trevor. Suddenly, an official notice came that there would be 2 hours of power supply every day, and maintenance would continue for the rest of the time, but there was still no news about when the polar day phenomenon would end. At this time, the surveillance of my home showed a signal again. 12. I turned on the surveillance. The room was in a mess, and my mother was nowhere to be seen. I didn't know where these 2 demons had taken her. My father was still lying on the sofa, using the small electric fan. My younger brother lay on the ground, his face ashen. His once chubby body was now emaciated. My father took out a bottle of water. Where did he get it? There was only a little water left in the bottle. After taking a few sips, my father threw it aside. He kicked my younger brother, and my younger brother opened his eyes and looked at him. Suddenly, a cold look flashed in my father's eyes. As if he had made a decision, he jumped up from the sofa, dragged my younger brother to the kitchen, and closed the door. I could only hear my younger brother's cries from the surveillance. No, Dad, don't kill me. I was terrified. That beast of a father actually wanted to eat my younger brother as food. After a while, there was no sound. I saw blood seeping out from under the glass door of the kitchen. I covered my mouth and began to tremble all over. The kitchen door was opened. My father's mouth was full of blood. He wiped his mouth and showed a satisfied expression. I couldn't hold back anymore and started vomiting. Sister Emma, what's wrong? Sophia came over and supported me. Trevor also turned around and asked, what happened? It's nothing. I took a bottle of water and rinsed my mouth. I used to think my father was just selfish and chauvinistic. I never thought he was such a monster. Didn't he fear divine retribution for what he did? Suddenly, my phone received an official text message. Since the end time of the polar day is unknown, all survivors will now be transferred to live in the underground city. Please get ready, survivors who receive this message. Great, the country hadn't given up on us. We could go to the underground city. The temperature in this cold storage had now reached 40 degrees Celsius. It might as well be called a hot storage. In recent days, we had all been relying on small fans to get by. After seeing the message on the phone, Sophia and I hugged each other and cried. Then we started packing our things. Each of us had a huge mountaineering backpack. Looking at Tobias, who was on the verge of death by the door, we untied him. I waved my phone in front of his face, and suddenly he started shouting, I want to go to the underground city too. Take me with you. Please, take me with you. I'll die if I stay here. Looking at our 3 packed backpacks, he started crawling on the ground in a twisted and desperate manner. Please, Trevor, we're brothers who have been through thick and thin. You broke your brother's nose. Trevor punched him twice. Brother, I was wrong. With his hands tied, Tobias cowed out on the ground, begging for forgiveness. Suddenly, a loud buzzing sound came from outside, like a strong wind. Survivors, please come out immediately. Survivors, please come out immediately. The three of us looked at each other and smiled, then put on our backpacks. I walked up to Tobias. Sister Emma, I knew you were the kindest. Take me with you. I won't treat you badly, he pleaded. I sneered. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Tobias began to panic. With a swift movement, I swung my knife. Blood gushed from Tobias's groin, pooling on the ground, looking at his pale face. I stuffed 2 sanitary pads into his mouth. This is a parting gift for you. We opened the door of the cold storage. Sophia and Trevor started whistling loudly. At this moment, the ground was cracked, and I felt it hard to breathe. Soon, the helicopter noticed us, first. It sprayed water to cool us down, and then it dropped a rope ladder. The three of us slowly climbed up. Welcome, survivors. We're going to the underground city right away. These are the latest cooling suits developed by scientists. Please put them on. The three of us quickly put on the suits. They were one piece and even had hats. To be honest, after putting them on, we didn't feel the sun's heat as much. Sitting in the helicopter, we saw that many buildings had collapsed, and the roads were covered with sand and dust. The sun was still scorching, and the world was a desolate yellow. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. I saw that the surveillance of my home was flickering again. 13. I quickly opened my phone and saw my father carrying a backpack. He was also wearing a cooling suit and jumped onto the helicopter through the window. My heart started beating rapidly. My father was incredibly tenacious. What should I do if we met in the underground city? I might end up as his prey. I fell asleep in a daze. When I woke up, we had arrived at a place with a lot of vegetation. It wasn't as hot as outside, but it wasn't cool either. It was like being in a rainforest. Then the helicopter slowly descended, and I saw an entrance. There was a long line of people at the door. It seemed they were all newly arrived survivors. We started queuing up. Suddenly, I caught a glimpse of a familiar face at the back. That was my cannibalistic father. I began to feel nervous, praying in my heart, please don't notice me, please don't notice me. When we got to the front, we saw a robot at the entrance. We could enter after facial recognition. Finally, it was my turn. When my face was scanned, my image appeared on the large screen. Emma, you little slut, my father shouted. Sophia and Trevor both turned around to look. Don't turn around, I warned them, waste of money. Kneel down and beg me, furious. I placed the video of him dragging my younger brother into the kitchen in front of the robot's scanning port. Everyone saw the way he licked the blood from the corner of his mouth. People started whispering and pointing at him. Some hot-blooded young men even pinned him to the ground and gave him a beating. We continued to move forward. When it was his turn to have his face scanned, an announcement suddenly came. Dangerous individual. Dangerous individual. Does not meet the rescue criteria. Please step back. Defiant, he tried to push forward. Please step back. Please step back. As the robot repeated the warning, a blue beam of light suddenly knocked him to the ground. Black smoke rose from his mouth. The people behind fell silent and began to queue up obediently for facial scanning. After that, we took a high-speed train that led thousands of meters underground. When we entered the underground city, it was like another world, but it was always dark. Everyone had to work growing certain plants to produce oxygen. Every day, we had to spend 2 hours in the sunlight cabin to be exposed to simulated sunlight. Otherwise, a lack of calcium would lead to various diseases. Years later, children born in the underground city developed night vision. They could see clearly even in the dark and no longer needed to go to the sunlight cabin. Perhaps this is how the environment changes people. Of course, it also shows how people adapt to the environment.